8:08, we have to put a time on it, because that's when we walked out.
Second motion.
All those. Okay. John?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that, I make a motion? My head, I am just really overwhelmed.
You might want to entertain discussion among the select board
Correct.
about a decision
Whether
that will
to-
need to be made.
Yeah. In lieu of time frame, which we figured was 31st of December, we, the select board, the three of us here, because Julie's recused and John has gone, need to entertain discussion and perhaps entertain a motion as to whether we want to, as a town, appeal decision
Of the Superior
of the
Court.
Superior Court. So I would entertain discussion at that time or a motion to be made.
As far as I'm concerned, we have backed the planning board, we backed the developer as far as we can go. And I guess my feeling is that at this time, we should not enter into an appeal.
Should not, Nancy? Is that what you said, should not?
I would also like to just ask some clarity from Dave as to what that means as far as our representation as a select board to appeal or not appeal this decision. Can you just speak to that a little bit about what happens if we don't make an appeal, if we don't decide to appeal it?
Okay. If you don't appeal the decision, the application has been voided. I'm sorry, the permit has been voided
Right.
by the Superior Court's decision, but then it would depend on whether Pisgah Mountain decides to appeal the decision.
Okay.
If Pisgah Mountain appeals the decision, then it'll be on appeal. But then, the planning board could either participate in that appeal or not participate.
Okay.
You want to talk about anything besides that, or is that?
Do you guys have any other questions or anything? I just want to be clear on the decision of the town of, what the town's obligation or responsibility would be, or what it would look like if we decided to appeal or not appeal. I think that sometimes is unclear from my head, and I don't know about everybody else in the room or not, but,
I could dig a little more to it. Pisgah Mountain filed an application.
correct,
The planning board worked on it for a long time,
correct.
approved the application, granted the permit. It was appealed, Board of Appeals on many, many issues. That planning board decision was affirmed. That was appealed to the Superior Court on many issues. Although many of the issues were affirmed in the Superior Court, one issue in particular and two total were the Superior Court indicated that the Superior Court agreed with the opponents of the application. The key issue being that the Superior Court said that the planning board could not waive the submission requirement of the pre-construction ambient sound isocontour maps because the ordinance waiver provision, the court interpreted that as only being applicable in two narrow circumstances, and that this wasn't either one of those circumstances. So an appeal would be an appeal really on that key issue right there. There were 5 issues on remand. 3 of them the judge said that the planning board's decision had sufficient evidence in the record. 2 of them he said that there was conflicting evidence, but the planning board was okay, and the evidence that they pointed to as supporting their decision on those issues. And then there were 2 that the Superior Court found in favor of the Beckford appeal. And so as far as if it's appealed to the Supreme Court, it'll be an issue of the interpretation of that waiver provision in the ordinance. And I mean, it's your decision on whether you want to do that. The other issue would be the low frequency sound issue, where the Superior Court decided that the worst case scenario analysis that the planning board used, the court disagreed with that and said that that was incorrect. The court wasn't really concrete on what it meant with regard to that issue, other than it looked like the court was in favor of the Beckford's position on that issue, but the main issue that the court used in overturning the planning board's granting of the permit had to do with the waiver of that isocontour map. The planning board was in a tough spot because the sound expert said that those maps would be impossible. And then now the court has said that, notwithstanding that the planning board couldn't waive that requirement because the ordinance had a narrow waiver provision that wouldn't allow it. So, on one hand, if the select board chooses not to appeal it, I mean, this is, the applicant is trying to get his permit, their permit, his permit, and the opponents are trying to oppose that. The town is trying to make sure that the procedures are followed. And so, on the one hand, you may want to consider saving money and not appealing that decision and accepting the court's decision. If Pisgah Mountain appeals, then at some point somebody would have to determine make a decision whether the town wants to participate in that appeal or not. Another thing you may want to consider is taking a vote to appoint somebody on the select board to make decisions regarding litigation from this point forward, to have direct contact with me and make decisions on the litigation. Including, if you vote on whether to appeal or not tonight, appoint somebody that could make general decisions about this litigation, possibly even changing the mind on whether to appeal or not. But that's what the guidance that I would
Would it be beneficial
offer.
for us to take that vote before we vote?
Excuse me?
Would it be beneficial for us to take that vote first and the appeal first? Or the appeal vote second, or does it matter which way to go?
I don't think it matters which is.
Because I think Julie was that representative beforehand, correct? With speaking with you on decisions, was that?
No,
was that in a
not
different
regard. There
format?
weren't any decisions really because
Right.
the select board was named as a defendant on the
Correct.
appeal to the
Yeah.
Superior Court.
Okay.
They didn't have any choice.
Okay.
At this point forward, though, there are decisions, and
Yep.
so that's why I suggest that the select board appoint someone to communicate with me and have authority to make decisions regarding litigation.
Okay.
And someone that hasn't recused themselves.
Okay.
And I don't think anybody who's recused themselves should take place in your discussions or your vote.
Right. Okay.
Or take part in them, I mean.
Okay. So, any other questions from the two of you? No? Okay.
I make a motion that we not enter into an appeal at this time.
Let's second it.
All those in favor? Okay, and then I think the second part of that we just discussed was making a motion to appoint one of the three of us to be representative of the town as a select board, to have the ability to speak with David,
And
make decisions
Regarding litigation.
regarding litigation from this time forward.
I move that we appoint Carol to that position.
Let's second it.
All those in favor? I don't think I vote for myself. I certainly don't vote for myself. But.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so. Anything from Dave?
No.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
No.